The future of the UK state pension is once again at the centre of national debate, as analysts warn of mounting financial pressures that could force major changes to how retirees receive their benefits. At the heart of this looming transformation lies one of the most expensive and politically charged commitments made by successive governments, the triple lock. Introduced in 2011, this mechanism guarantees that state pension payments rise every year by whichever is highest: inflation, average earnings growth, or a fixed minimum of 2.5%. For over a decade, this policy has been a cornerstone of pension protection in the United Kingdom. But now, the cost of upholding it is spiraling out of control. According to the latest data, older Britons born after 1951 could see their state pension payments rise by £657 annually in 2025 if current earnings growth projections hold steady. A projected 5.5% rise in line with earnings growth would lift the full new state pension from £12,000 to a projected £12,630, 80p per year, or £242, 90p per week. On the surface, this seems like welcome news for retirees who have endured rising living costs, soaring energy bills, and the lingering effects of economic shocks like the COVID-19 pandemic and the cost of living crisis. But dig deeper, and a more worrying picture begins to emerge. The triple lock, once a symbol of fairness and dignity for older generations, is now forecast to cost the government an eye-watering £145.6 billion in the 2025-26 financial year alone. And it doesn't stop there. According to the Office for Budget Responsibility, or OBR, the long-term cost of maintaining the triple lock could balloon to £15.5 billion per year by 2033, times higher than originally estimated when the policy was first introduced. These figures have prompted analysts and economic advisors to call for serious reforms to ensure the long-term sustainability of the UK's pension system. Claire Trutt, the head of advice at investment firm St James's Place, is among those voicing concern. She notes that the affordability of the triple lock has been questioned for some time, and understandably so. With life expectancy increasing and the frequency of large annual increases growing, the cost to the Treasury has consistently exceeded expectations. While the triple lock remains politically sensitive, especially among older voters, it has become clear that reforms may be unavoidable. Trutt outlines several possible paths forward. Among them is the option of freezing the state pension at its current level, while increasing support for the poorest pensioners through targeted benefits like pension credit. This would reduce the cost of blanket increases and direct more financial help to those who need it most. But even this approach is not without its critics. The very idea of halting pension increases risks a political backlash and could undermine public confidence in the stability of retirement planning. Another potential reform that has gained traction is the idea of means testing the state pension. This would involve assessing an individual's financial situation before determining whether they qualify for full state pension payments. In theory, this would ensure that wealthier pensioners do not receive payments they do not need, freeing up resources for those living in poverty or close to the edge. However, Trutt and other financial experts warn that the cost and complexity of implementing a nationwide means testing system could outweigh the potential savings. Not only would such a move be administratively burdensome, but it could also introduce new inequalities and inconsistencies across the benefits system. That leads us to another widely discussed proposal: raising the state pension age. Although controversial, many experts argue that increasing the age at which people can start claiming their pension is the most publicly palatable long-term solution. With people living and working longer than ever before, extending the working age by a year or two is often seen as a fair compromise between fiscal responsibility and retirement dignity. Already, the UK state pension age is scheduled to rise from 66 to 67 beginning in 2026, with the change due to be fully implemented by 2028. A further increase to 68 is expected to take place between 2044 and 2046, although the exact timeline may change depending on future economic conditions and political decisions. Even these changes, however, may not be enough to offset the rising burden of the triple lock. For now, the Labour government has committed to maintaining the triple lock throughout the current Parliament. That means state pensioners can expect a 4.1% increase in April 2025, keeping in line with the triple lock's formula. This translates to a real-term income boost of up to £470 for many pensioners. But beyond this parliament, the future is uncertain. Tom Adams, a partner at the tax advisory firm Blick Rothenberg, believes the days of the triple lock may be numbered. He predicts that once the current government completes its term, the triple lock could be phased out or replaced with a less generous alternative. Adams points to growing government debt and the increasing cost of supporting an aging population as key reasons why the system is becoming unsustainable. Meanwhile, Professor Joe Nellis from MHA echoes these warnings. He points out that the demographic and economic shifts underway in the UK have made the triple lock a policy that is, in his words, difficult to uphold. With a larger share of the population entering retirement age and fewer workers contributing to the tax base, the strain on public finances is intensifying. Nellis warns that any attempt to reverse or modify the triple lock will be politically dangerous and could spark public outrage, especially among pensioners who rely heavily on the annual increases to keep pace with inflation. Yet as the debate continues, so too does the pressure on government policymakers to find a sustainable path forward. The stakes are high. Any failure to adequately address the cost of state pensions risks destabilizing the broader welfare system, increasing pensioner poverty, and eroding public trust in the government's ability to provide for its citizens in old age. One thing is clear: the current trajectory is unsustainable. Without reform, the state pension system risks becoming a victim of its own success, too generous to maintain and too politically toxic to fix. As more and more people live longer, the government must strike a delicate balance between honoring its commitments to older generations and safeguarding the fiscal health of future ones. Will that balance come in the form of a restructured triple lock? Will means testing finally be introduced, despite the complexity? Or will we simply see the retirement age climb ever higher, forcing people to work longer before they can access the benefits they've paid into for decades? Only time will tell. But what is certain is that changes are coming. For every person planning their retirement in the UK, staying informed and prepared will be more important than ever. The age of guaranteed rises may soon give way to a more uncertain future, one where each policy decision carries enormous consequences for millions of people. So as Parliament debates and the Department for Work and Pensions studies the options, Britons are watching and waiting. The triple lock has served its purpose, lifting millions out of poverty and providing stability to countless households. But with the price tag now reaching astronomical levels, the question remains: can we afford to keep it forever? And if not, what comes next? As pressure continues to mount, political leaders are being forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that without fundamental reform, the state pension system is heading for a financial cliff edge. While Labour's current commitment to protect the triple lock may offer short-term reassurance, experts warn that this policy could become an anchor dragging down the entire welfare budget in the long run. This is especially concerning given the sheer number of people affected. Over 12 million people currently receive the state pension in the UK, and this number is expected to grow significantly as the post-war baby boom generation enters retirement. By 2030, that figure could exceed 14 million. These individuals have spent their working lives contributing to the national insurance system, and for many, the state pension is their primary or only source of income. Reducing or means testing this benefit, therefore, isn't just a fiscal decision, it's a moral one. The political cost of tampering with the triple lock has already been witnessed in previous elections. Older voters form a powerful electoral bloc, with some of the highest turnout rates in the country. Politicians from all parties know that proposing pension cuts can be a career-ending move. That's why many leaders continue to pledge support for the triple lock, even as they privately acknowledge that its long-term affordability is in question. But while politicians dodge the deeper conversation, the economic reality refuses to wait. According to modeling by the Resolution Foundation, maintaining the triple lock over the next 20 years could cost the government over £300 billion. That's money that could otherwise be used to support struggling families, invest in the NHS, or fund infrastructure projects to grow the economy. Some economists argue that increasing the state pension age even further may be the least painful option available. Currently, the UK retirement age is already set to rise from 66 to 67 between 2026 and 2028. The move to 68 is scheduled between 2044 and 2046, but some policy insiders suggest this could be brought forward to the late 2030s. Supporters of this approach point to improvements in life expectancy and health outcomes, arguing that people can work longer and contribute more. But critics warn this could have devastating consequences, particularly for manual workers and those in poor health. For someone who has spent 40 years working in construction, nursing, or factory work, being told to carry on into their late 60s or even 70s could feel like a betrayal. These are the same workers who built the country's infrastructure, kept essential services running during COVID, and paid taxes for decades. Asking them to delay retirement is seen by many as unjust. Meanwhile, the idea of means testing is also gaining traction in some think tanks. On paper, it appears fair after all. Why should millionaires receive the same pension as those on the poverty line? But in practice, means testing could erode trust in the entire system. One of the strengths of the current model is its simplicity and universality. Everyone gets the same basic entitlement, creating a sense of shared social contract. Introducing means tests would require intrusive assessments, increased bureaucracy, and could even disincentivize saving if people fear their future savings could make them ineligible for full pension support. This complexity is exactly why figures like Claire Trutt argue that means testing is unlikely to ever be fully implemented, even if it is often floated as a theoretical solution. The cost of building the infrastructure to administer it, and the political fallout from angry pensioners who feel targeted, make it a hard sell in Westminster. So, what is the future of retirement in Britain? For now, the triple lock remains intact. Pensioners can expect their payments to rise again next year, delivering a welcome boost in the midst of rising food prices, energy bills, and housing costs. But beyond that, the path forward is murky. Labour has vowed to protect the triple lock for now, but party insiders admit that reform is inevitable. The Conservative Party, already under fire for austerity measures and NHS waiting times, has avoided making any concrete promises about the triple lock's long-term future. And Liberal Democrats have pushed for a more targeted approach, one that supports those most in need without pouring billions into payments for the country's wealthiest retirees. And the clock is ticking. The Office for Budget Responsibility has already warned that if pension costs continue to grow unchecked, they will begin to crowd out other areas of government spending. That means less money for schools, transport, local councils, and health services. In a country already grappling with record levels of public debt, this is a ticking time bomb. But at the center of all this debate are real people, retirees who rely on every pound of their pension just to get by. People like Margaret, a 72-year-old widow from Sheffield, who says the triple lock is the only reason she can afford to heat her home in the winter. Or Peter, a former lorry driver from Bristol, who says without the annual increase, he would have to rely on food banks. These are not statistics. They are the very backbone of British society. As the political and economic debate rages on, many pensioners just want clarity and security. They want to know that after a lifetime of work, their retirement won't be filled with uncertainty and financial stress. They want to know that the promises made to them will be honored, not torn up when the numbers no longer add up. There is a broader question here too: what kind of society do we want to be? Do we value our older citizens enough to ensure they live with dignity, regardless of cost? Or do we risk turning retirement into a luxury only the wealthy can afford? These are the choices that await our leaders in the months and years to come. And for every policy expert crunching numbers,